Auburn is victorious in Atlanta again as part of the holiday hoops giving event, this time taking down the Ohio State Buckeyes by the score of 91-53. We're going to talk about the score, of course, the stats, and the storyline from this next victory for the Auburn Tigers. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream here for E2C Network Live, where we talk about the Auburn experience. What is the Auburn experience? Well, for us, it's a few different things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it is if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we do today. On this particular live stream, we are discussing and reacting to another Auburn Tigers men's basketball victory, this time over Ohio State, 91-53 in Atlanta as part of the holiday hoops giving event. Domination, 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 absolute domination is the word of the day for the Auburn Tigers when it came to what they did to the Buckeyes in Atlanta. So we will walk through stats and we will walk through storylines. We want to hear from you. So as you come into the stream, do us a humongous favor. Smash that like button. It's a huge help for us. You can do this whether you're live or on the replay. If you are here also during the live portion, we'd love to know who's watching with us. Announce yourself with a War Eagle, where you're watching from. Post all that in the chat. You can share that along in the live stream as well. That's how we operate here for these streams. That's our goal, is to give you the information and the discussion points or reactions that you need to an Auburn men's basketball game. So let's start off with the score, the stat, and the storyline of the game for me. First of all, the score. We already mentioned it a couple of times. 91-53, Auburn takes down Ohio State. The stat for me that sticks out the most is going to be the rebounds when you look at it. A total rebound margin that is 20 basically for Auburn, 49-28. That is the stat that sticks out to me the most. And the storyline, Janai Broome becomes the first player since 1989, the first Auburn player to have 20 points and 20 rebounds in a game. That is the score. That is the stat. And of course, one of the great storylines from this victory over Ohio State. All right, let's jump into all the different things that we can discuss. So many people are already here getting excited. A lot of people jumping the gun. I can see in the chat too, also declaring certain things before it is well in hand. But hey, I know we're all feeling good based off performance. One thing I would like to start off with saying is an adage that I use here a lot, I use in life a lot. It's not about what your mistakes. It's not that you're not defined by your mistakes. You are defined by how you respond to your issues, your problems, your mistakes. Obviously, what we're referring to there is Auburn's loss to Duke, which was not their best game, and they had a great response versus Richmond at home. But when you go up against maybe quote unquote better competition, more well-known competition, how do you continue to respond at neutral sites, things like this? Auburn continues to show that they are going to respond when they face adversity, whether that be at home, on the road, they take a loss, whatever, if it's just an ugly win. Auburn, this team is built to do strong, strong things this year, and you should be very proud of how they continue to respond as a team. Another little cool storyline, just to go ahead and get out of the way, not really important to the game, but very important just in life things. Congratulations to Coach Stephen Pearl for the birth of his daughter today. He was not able to be at the game, as they talked about in the broadcast, because, of course, it's a pretty big milestone. So he was not there, and they were joking that maybe Coach was even texting or messaging him in the room about how the scout was under his direction for this game, and he needed to get some info from him. But either way, congratulations to Coach Stephen Pearl, and of course, congratulations to Coach Bruce Pearl as another grandfather option for him. Lots of other people starting to come in. Complete and utter destruction. I will be honest with you. I am shooketh about how destructive this was for Ohio State. I mean, it doesn't feel like they were in it ever. Is there a point? Maybe if you're talking about the, I don't know, it was like the 15 to somewhere in that 10 to 15 mark. Auburn really wasn't shooting well. They were being a little bit more sloppy with the ball, and they got back within like 10 or so. And so you thought, okay, well, Ohio State has a shot here to get in. But no, but I mean, just look at the way the scoring broke down, 21-49 in the first half. I mean, that alone was going to be an incredible deficit for them to erase, down by 28 in the first half alone. The second half, breaking down the scoring, is 32-42, still in Auburn's favor. It's not a huge margin, but when you compile that, you're just really not going to be able to have success on a day like that when you're creating that much of a deficit for yourself. So Ohio State, yes, utterly destroyed by this Auburn men's basketball team in Atlanta. That is a correct statement. Okay, so I like to walk through individual stats and talk about them. I like to walk through team stats too. It gives us some good talking points. Certainly want to do that with some of you guys. And we can jump in here and hit some of the high points. Corey thought the game would have been a lot closer. I didn't think that Ohio State was going to challenge us by the end of the game. I thought we would pull away towards the end, but I did think we would get a little bit more of a something, to start off the day. Listen, I'll take it. I think I saw my friend Clint Richardson post on social media and say, after all of the offensive thumpings by other teams that we've received in the past, it was nice to do this to someone else, just to lay the wood to them and just not let up at all. EKW says, what a game. What is happening to the rest of the leagues? SEC is just nuts this year. It is a good year for basketball, and Auburn is at the top of that league right now, to one of the at the top of that particular great basketball league so far this season. Okay. I want to know from you all, your player of the game. Who you got? What are we talking about? Who is your player of the game? I think there's a obvious one. We already mentioned him at the start of the stream, but certainly I want to know who is your player of the game. Specifically, just that. You can even just type his name out right now in the live chat, and we'll go from there. If you want to give props to Stephen Pearl for the birth of his child, I think that would be a nice way to honor him in that. But who is your player of the game? We'll walk through some individual stats. We talked about Janai Broome. I mean, my goodness. He 21 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists, and he had those assists pretty early in the game, most of them. So if, he had some more time, he might have pushed for a triple double. Excuse me. I almost said a triple, a triple double. If he had pulled off a triple double in this game with that other history that he made, I mean, I don't know how you can't make the case that he's the best one in college basketball so far this year. Now, this is the second time we're talking about Janai nearly getting a triple-double this year, which is incredible. And that just shows you how good of a well-rounded basketball player he is. So 21 points tonight, he leads the way. Your next highest scorer is Denver Jones, who got off to a hot start in the game, 14 points, 4 for 5 from the three-point line, 5 for 6 from the field, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Your next highest scorers after that, only 4 in double digits in this game, would be Ja'Kai Howard with 11. Nice to see him continuing to get some more minutes and time and stats as well. Dylan Cardwell probably has, he's the 4th highest scorer with 10. So he probably doesn't get as much just looking at the stat sheet. But if you watch this game, Dylan Cardwell was everywhere and was just the biggest nuisance tonight to Ohio State. Block shots, I think he ended with 4. I don't have that part of his stat line pulled up. I mean, he was just an absolute beast, just making great decisions with the ball. I've often talked about how I value how calm he is when he gets an offensive rebound and he doesn't force it back up there immediately unless it's just there. He even finds guys to get it out to in the outlet, so he deserves a lot of credit tonight. I do think, not unfortunately, tonight is one of those nights where you just give the nod to Janai Broome and say, hey, you get the player of the game tonight. Other scorers tonight for you all: Tahad Pettiford with 9, Miles Kelly with 8, Chad Becker-Mazzara with 8, Yaheem, I think is how you say it, Hudson. I had that corrected by Coach in a press conference, or not corrected, but I saw him say it differently. 5, Chaney Johnson with 5, and that will be all of your scorers tonight. But I think a lot of people had some great moments tonight, those that saw significant minutes. Everybody that you've talked about pretty much all year outside of your Musalix and Patterson, who got in at the very end, have some stats on there. And isn't it great that we get to get those guys in so often? All right, so everybody's already saying Janai Broom without a doubt. I don't think there is domination continues to be the word. Am I reaching to say that Janai is the number one draft pick? You are reaching. That's not how it works, unfortunately, and I do think that a lot of people forget that it is more so about what the first pick needs in terms of type of player, but he is certainly worthy of a first round pick based off his whole trajectory of his career and what he's done so far this season, especially. Rusty says the team is very good at all positions, and War Eagle. Unbeaten Lake says, very disappointed in our performance. We should have beaten them by 40. Instead, we only win by 38. Smack myself in the head. That's, listen, if that is your gripe tonight, Unbeaten Lake, which we both know that you're tongue in cheek there, man, you're living the high life right now, my friend. So that was all your scores tonight. We have talked about Janai's stat line. Who's someone else tonight that we haven't mentioned yet in detail that you think deserves a shout out, a discussion point, something that stuck out to you during the game? There are a few out there I think that you could. We've talked about Dylan a little bit tonight. Definitely Janai. This is not necessarily a good thing, but something that's kind of intriguing to watch me. Chaney Johnson tonight, he has 4 personal fouls. He's been getting in foul trouble a lot lately, and I think that is really hurting that high trajectory that he was on to start the season. So I'd like to see that get in check. And I even talked about this after the preseason game. I noted just how different Chaney looks, and I'd said all this in a good way, that he looks very active, even more agile and stuff, and just seems more aggressive in his style of play. And I wondered if that would kind of translate to some more fouls, although it also has translated to many good things. We're kind of seeing that right now. So I'd like to see those go down, because I want to see me some Chaney Johnson big games again, where he's pushing Janai a little bit. And you can't do that when you're limited in minutes, when he was tonight. And not too bad, but at least he was somewhat with those 4 fouls. Denver Jones was hot in the first half. I do think that's going to be the story of Denver Jones a lot this season, that he's going to be quiet for a little bit, whether that's at the start or the end, and then suddenly he's just going to pop off, going 4 for 5 from the 3-point line tonight with 14 points. He definitely deserves a little bit of a shout out. Kelly would be so much more impactful if he could keep him out of foul trouble. He gets 3 tonight, so it's not the worst foul trouble, but certainly this is not one of his nights where he has his biggest impact. He's done that plenty of times this week, so I'm not going to knock him too much for that. What else? Anybody else got a shout out that they want to give? A player of note that we haven't discussed yet about this? Anything that I'm trying to just kind of look through. Ja'Kai Howard, we already mentioned him a little bit. Great to see him out there and doing some things, getting more and more minutes. That's the problem with this. You're struggling to find time for everybody, even though you run a lot of players out there. There's so many talented players that you want to get out there. Okay. If you got any other shout outs, anything like that on the live portion of the show that we want to discuss, drop it in right now. Let's discuss the team stats here. You all know where I go very first, and that is the big 3: free throws, turnovers, and then rebounds. I mentioned the rebounds as the stat that stuck out to me the most at the start of the game. Just to reiterate that, total rebounds tonight, 49-28, a huge margin for Auburn basketball, 21-point differential there. So they win that category. The turnovers, really good for Auburn. Only 5 on the day at a neutral site away from home, 8 for Ohio State. So it wasn't terrible for them, but Auburn wins that category too. And look at this, just chef's kiss, beautiful thing. Above 80% for Auburn free throw shooting, 86% to be specific. Ohio State with an ugly 58% tonight, and they get more free throws than anything. So that was not a good look for them, but a good look for Auburn. Auburn wins all the major categories for me. And that, folks, is a good, beautiful thing in a win like this. Other team stats, Auburn shoots 46% from the field. Pretty good. 43% from the 3-point arc. that is dang good. Walking through a little bit to see if there's anything else that sticks out to me. I really like the offensive rebounding numbers, and I think that's reflected a lot in obviously the rebound stats, but points in the paint. A lot of our big guys were going down there and getting balls and putting them back up. Janai being one of them. 16 for Auburn, 5 for Ohio State. Second chance points is kind of reflects it as well. 19 for Auburn, 5 for Ohio State. Bench points is really good as well. You see a trend here? 30 for Auburn, only 13 for Ohio State. Kind of goes back to what people were talking about earlier about Auburn being so talented and so deep and talented all at the same time. They actually beat us in fast break points. We got the blocks by far, courtesy mainly of Dylan Cardwell, it seems like tonight, with 13-4. Steals, they get the win. And then the category that has looked probably the most consistently beautiful all year, assist. Auburn is 18, Ohio State is 7. So here's the great thing about what we consistently see in team stats for Auburn. Yes, you've got your superstars and your individual stats. But when you look at the team stats, you look at a lot of high likelihood of them shooting high free throw percentage wise. You look at them shooting well, mostly from the floor. Even if they don't, there are other stats to counteract that. They don't turn over the ball a whole lot, but they share the ball so well. And with a team this deep, this talented, that is a rare combination to find. You've got people dishing it out all over. In fact, let's look at some of the assist numbers tonight. Let's see who's leading the way. Janai Broome is your leading assist getter tonight. Let that sink in. Your superstar, who just broke another record, 1989, the last time an Auburn player gets 20 points and 20 rebounds. He also has 6 assists on the night. Your next highest assist getter was Tahad Pettiford with 5. You've also got J.P. Pegues with 2, Chaney Johnson with 2, Cardwell with 2. So what do you notice there? The big men, just as much as the other guy, as the guards, Denver gets one as well, are distributing the ball really, really, really well. Howard is already looking like everyone else on the team. 9 points in 2 minutes. Next man up. 9 points in 2 minutes. Yeah, Auburn can score quick, score often, and score fast. And it doesn't really matter who goes out there. You can find a way for them all to contribute in that. Okay. We got through that a little bit quicker than I thought we would in terms of walking through stats and storylines and stuff. Surely there's something we've forgotten, so please do post that in the chat if you've got anything you'd like to discuss. We can look ahead a little bit, certainly, and then talk about some bigger Auburn basketball topics, but don't want to move away from this I think the nature of it is we just dominated them so bad and the game was in hand so early that we're all just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We took care of business against a quality opponent. And I think people need to remember that this is a quality opponent. And I'm not saying Duke or anybody else we've already beaten, but it is still a quality opponent from a major conference. Okay. Here are some reminders for you for what's coming up this week here at E2C Network. Let me go ahead and say this. I know there's some big news out there if you're watching this live or watching the replay shortly after about some transfer portal stuff. That we'll have some video content coming out from you today, maybe tomorrow as well, about all that. So be looking for that if you're interested in that. Next scheduled things, Auburn Experience Podcast, Sports Culture Family, episode 106, live tomorrow here on YouTube. Join us, please. It's a great time. We have a live Q&A after it as well. But you can watch the sausage being made live. You come at your own risk. But it's usually a pretty good time. So join us at 9 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube for the Auburn Experience, episode 106. We got tons to talk about this week. And I say that every week, but we truly do this week. Auburn Family Night will be this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join us. And I'm going to check this live as I'm here too, because last time I didn't do this and I announced that we had a conflict of interest. We will not have a conflict of interest this week. So Auburn Family Nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join us there if you would like to. And always check out the links in our description. You can support us by supporting Alumni Hall through our link. You buy something through our affiliate link. Those are always in the description, or if you need it, just let us know, and you'll support them and us. Okay. What else? What else is out there? What do we got? I don't know if y'all talked about this, but the announcers were talking about Auburn's ability to take away teams' 3-point shots. Ohio State usually averages 10 a game and hardly even had any attempts. Well, let's take a look at that, Devin. That's a good point to bring up. 3 points tonight for Ohio State. They shoot 6 for 16. So it's not like they didn't get a adequate amount of opportunities, but when you compare that to, it's hard to compare it to, because Auburn takes so many 3-point shots, 13 of 30. That's double nearly. That certainly is quite the drastic experience there. Look, Auburn's a good defensive team. We know that. And when they had their worst defensive game against Duke, it obviously bit them in the butt, but they were still in the game. I do think that there was something to that, because, if they're as good 3-point shooting wise as the announcers talked about, and as good as Bruce talked about in his preview press conference this week, you would expect a few more attempts and certainly a few more makes. I mean, they shot 38% from the field 3-point wise, so that's not terrible. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it certainly wasn't adequate enough to keep up with the way Auburn was shooting, the way Auburn was rebounding, taking care of the ball, sharing the ball. I mean, that whatever adjective, or was it adverb? No, whatever language you want to put around Auburn tonight and what they did in this game, they did pretty much all of it well. I'm struggling to find a stat that looks bad. Even the ones that they lost so closely, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think there probably was something to that. There was one other thing that I was going to bring up. Oh, well, I don't know if this was it, but looking forward a little bit, Corey brought this up. SEC has 10 teams in the top 25, definitely have competition this year. Auburn is one of the tops at that competition. I have talked with you all about this all year, about how difficult the non-conference schedule was going to be for Auburn. And I knew it was going to be difficult in the SEC, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. As things stand at the moment of us doing this podcast, I'm going to make the hot take that Auburn's SEC schedule will be, by and large, by a wide margin, way tougher than their non-conference schedule. And that is saying something, with what they had to go up against in the Maui Invitational, going to Cameron Indoor. You just did this one in a neutral site, Ohio State. You got Purdue there, and majority of those mid-major teams that they have played have been pretty decent ones, at least historically or in recent times, either competing, reigning champions of their particular leagues. So I'm just going to go ahead and step out. Maybe it's not that hot of a take. The SEC schedule for Auburn will be well far and away beyond what the non-conference was, and that is saying something this particular year. Some people were also saying, if we're not ranked number 1 this Monday, we riot. Well, y'all can go ahead and riot, but I don't think you're going to get that unless Tennessee loses. Tennessee is still, at this moment, as far as I know, undefeated. I don't know. There you go. So even Devin talked about it. Unless Tennessee loses, we won't move up. Now, certainly we can. We have done that before, jump people, but they've got to really show. I think it's more so on Tennessee at this point for rankings changes. If they show poorly over this weekend, whoever they're playing, then maybe they can get out there and make an opportunity for us to squeeze on past them. Okay. Holiday Hoops Giving in Atlanta. We've been doing this basically every year for the last 5 years, and I've enjoyed it. I had hoped to go there today, but kind of thankful it didn't work out because of all the craziness that's been going on today in the Auburn news cycle. But we love playing in Atlanta. We perform well in Atlanta for the most part, and I think that's a great sign for Auburn, continuing to put together games on the road, traditional on the road games, neutral site games, and showing that they are consistent on the road and are a legitimate contender for the SEC, and maybe, just maybe, for the national title, but they certainly look every bit of the number 2 team tonight. There you go. Your score again. Auburn wins 91-53, a nearly 40-point margin tonight, 38 to be exact. The stat that we focused on was that 49-28 margin of rebounding, and that final storyline that I want to bring up again because it's oh so great is, of course, Janai Broom being able to become the first player since 1989 to get 20 points and 20 rebounds. Folks, soak it up. It's only going to get tougher, but your Auburn Tigers are playing great right now, and they are a joy to talk about. Thanks for hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.